When I tell people I have my own plane, the typical response is, "Are you nuts?" And geez, that must be expensive. They couldn't be more wrong. First of all, I'm not nuts, I'm just an ENTP personality type. Second of all, aviation is cheaper than you think. What if I told you you could get a plane for the price of an entry-level Tesla? Electric cars are cool and all, but does your Tesla fly? I don't think so. In this video, I'm going to go over how much airplanes cost and how I bought this beauty for $35,000 while I was still a student pilot. I'm also going to give you a tour of my plane so you can see exactly what $35K and oftentimes less buys you. On this channel, I mostly talk about real estate investing and my other businesses, but today we're talking about affordable airplanes and general aviation. I buy $5,000 homes in Italy and $35,000 planes in America. My name is Carl Pierre, and this is ENTP Life. So here's the backstory. Back when I was in college, I had a professor by the name of Dr. Reinstein. He's a physics dude, and like most physics dudes, a bit of an oddball. So of course, I liked him. During an office visit, I saw a bunch of airplane paraphernalia and asked him, "What's with all the toys?" He told me that he's a pilot and then started selling me on why I should become a pilot too. One thing he said that was to get a group of friends together, buy an airplane, and learn in that plane to save a bunch of money. Naturally, I said, buying an airplane as a college student, and he responded while eating trail mix. You can buy an airplane for less than a fully loaded Honda Accord. And that line I'll never forget. My first flight ever was in 2007. 10 years later, I was in flight school paying $200 an hour and thinking back to Dr. Reinstein's theory of buying my own plane. So the search began. After reviewing my options, I was dead set on buying a Cherokee 235. It's a high-performance airplane with a big engine and long range. After a few weeks of searching, I came across this baby, a 1963 Piper Cherokee with the tail number November 8623 whiskey. And because I like whiskey and I like the price, it was a plane for me. Okay, I know what you're thinking. 1963 is freaking old, but I prefer to think of this plane as a vintage collectible. Also, airplanes are held to a higher standard than automobiles for it to stay airworthy, so even old planes still are good to go. Either way, me and my instructor had flown down from New York to Kokomo, Indiana, bought the plane and flew it back. Almost got wiped out in a thunderstorm, but that's another story. I've flown this plane from New York to Florida when I moved down to Florida, and I plan on flying her all over the Caribbean this year. My cheap airplane is my personal travel machine and one of my dreams come true. Now that you got to check out the backstory, let's go check her out. So we're going for a flight, baby. Piper Cherokee 235 horsepower, high performance. Got a recently overhauled Macaulay prop. I'm not sure if you can see the coloring, but aviation gas is blue. So now I'm going to walk you through the avionics and what all this means. You see here, this is your speedometer. And this essentially, or not your speedometer, this is your airspeed indicator, which functions like your speedometer. So it lets you know how fast your plane is actually moving in the air. This is not the speed that you're doing over the ground, but the speed that you're actually doing in the air. This is your attitude indicator, which is kind of like your plane versus the horizon. This here is your one of your navs. This links to your radios and can point you in the direction of a VOR or a radio station. And you can actually fly along the radio station to know exactly where you are. And this also has a glide slope, so it's not only directional, but also like the slope that you're flying down to a runway. So it could be used for instrument approaches. Another VOR device. Here's your heading indicator, and this is kind of like your compass, but I have a vertical card compass here, and essentially you have to sync these two up manually. This is your turn coordinator here. This makes sure that you're making turns smooth and it doesn't feel like you're dragging along. And then here you have your vertical speed indicator. So this is how fast you're climbing or descending. So it's 500 feet a minute, 1,000 feet a minute, 1,500, 2,000. You're rarely over here. If you are, something strange is happening. These are just your fuses. Hopefully they're all working and intact, or something is not going to be working. Here you have your landing light, your rotating beacon. This is for your fuel pump, and here is your master power switch. You have your radio master, a few more fuses. This is your gas, your throttle. This here is like the mixture, which is the ratio of gas to air. I got 4 gas tanks on this aircraft, holding a total of 84 gallons, which means I could go almost, believe it or not, 1,000 miles or so. Oil pressure, oil temperature, fuel pressure, and the amperage of my altimeter. So my, I forgot what this one is called, honestly. I'm not the most technical pilot out there. Here you have your tachometer, which is pretty much your RPMs. This is how you know what your power setting is at. All right, so based on how many RPMs you have, and I have a fixed pitch prop. So some other aircrafts have a throttle, a prop lever, which controls the manifold pressure and the prop angle, and then they have a mixture. So with that, that's called a variable pitch prop. You're able to have a little more control, but you have a manifold pressure. So it's a combination of the throttle and that blue lever that dictates your power settings. On this aircraft, since it's fixed pitch, this is my power. So how many RPMs I have hitting the engine, hitting the propeller, dictates my power. Here I have my radios and my transponder. So these two here are my radios. I am able to tune those to the nav aids, and also to the radio stations and air traffic control and any kind of air-to-air communications. So I have a primary and a backup. You definitely want to have 2, just in case one radio stops working. You don't want to be out there with just one radio. So a lot of the systems within an aircraft are redundant, meaning that there's the primary and a backup. So these are my 2 here. And this here is your transponder. This is kind of like your radar device. It sends your plane's position to all the radar systems, and mine also has what's called Adsb, which is linked to the satellite system. So now my aircraft is, it's by law, all aircraft have to have the Adsb connection point, which I referenced, and this is what kind of controls that. So essentially, you're flying on typically 1200. That's like the standard pin for your plane. And then when you're in contact and getting flight following, or you're in busy airspace, they're going to give you a unique or discrete code. And then that way they can distinguish you and your plane from all the other planes. So they give you a unique number because they're tracking you, following you, giving you communications advice, that sort of thing. So that's typical within the aircraft. And now this is your AFD. They don't really use this anymore. It still works on my aircraft, but it gives you like your distance from a certain radio, and it also has its own inputs, but I've honestly never used this. Here is like my intercom splitter. So my microphone and headset, there's only one input on this aircraft. Remember, it's a 50-year-old plane, 60-year-old plane. So there's only one input. So to split that signal between 4 people, I have the splitter. So this feeds into my master system, and then it splits out 2 here. And if we trace it further back, we have another 2 right there. And my cushions are dying, so you see all this little debris. That's the sponge from my seats falling apart. This is my new addition to the aircraft. It's my headset. These Bose headphones cost about $1,000, and they're actually much better in quality than, let's just say, these $100 sets. Now, these $100 sets are reserved for passengers. They're not bad. Actually, they have some staying power. I had another pair of headsets, the Lightspeeds, that died. I would never recommend buying another set of Lightspeeds again. For $500 headsets, they don't last that long. And these $99 ones have lasted me years, and actually still work. So I would recommend that you use these, like a Rugged Air, or they're always 99 bucks. Amazon and some of the other aviation sites carry them. I have my daughter's, it's not a headset, but it's a noise canceller. So when she flies with us, she puts this on, and at least we protect her ears. This is Monaco's set. And then I have another set there for any more passengers. It is a 4-passenger plane, so I have 4 headsets so we could all stay in contact and keep everybody's ears safe. When I'm flying, people always ask me, what is this that I'm turning? And this right here is my trim. Now the trim, best way I could put it is poor man's autopilot. But essentially it takes the pressure away from having to put elevator inputs, right? And also rudder inputs. There's another rudder trim here, if you look down there. So if the plane is kind of pushing left, right, up, down, you could set the trim to kind of control that so that you're not having to put it in by hand, because that gets a little tiring. It's not that hard, but if you're holding an angle that you're going to be holding for an hour or two, it starts to hurt your shoulders. So you could use your trim to take that pressure off, as well as control your airspeed. Another conversation, but that's what this wheel is for. You turn it left and right for nose up and nose down. And that's not. Here's my vent and climate control system. There's no AC in this, so when it's hot, the only thing that you can do is open up this little vent here and let a little cool air in. When you're climbing up, you're a few thousand feet in the air, the temperature gets really low. So you could easily control the heat inside the aircraft when you're in the air by opening these vents. But when you're down low, you're pretty much opening with your door open. Another thing I have for each passenger in the airplane is an inflatable life vest. This is just in case we crash in the water. If we're doing overwater flight or flying to the Bahamas or just over any length of water, you're going to want to have flotation devices. Even in the airlines, each seat has a flotation device in the event that there's a water landing. So I have the same. I just stow them right under my seats, and before we do a briefing, we indicate that, you know, where these are and how to use them, so that if we have a water landing, all the passengers know what to do. And for all of you guys thinking, where's my GPS? It's right here on my iPad. I use an app called ForeFlight, and it gives me all the information that I need. So right here, I'm just kind of researching other flights, but I'm currently based in Fort Lauderdale. I have one flight planned to Tampa, but essentially I could track myself, my flight, get all the airport information. And for those of you who don't know this, there's tons and tons and tons of airports within the United States. If this is just Southeast Florida, look at this. You got West Palm, Pompano, no, not even Pompano. This is the airport at Boca Raton. This is Pompano. This is Fort Lauderdale Executive. Then Fort Lauderdale, the Class C airport, which is FLL, which some of you guys might have flown into in the past. Then you have Miami Airport. In between that, you have Hollywood and what is this one? Opa-locka. Tons of them. All of these airports within like 10, 15 miles of one another. So you're really not that far from any airport. You're going down to the Keys, there's an airport. There's a few airports along the way. So it's so many points to where if you ran into trouble, you could glide or get to. But ForeFlight, I love it. It gives me everything I need, the distance from one place to the next. So let's just say I was flying to Tampa, 162 miles. It's going to take me an hour and a half. They got some headwinds there now or en route. And it's going to burn about 22 gallons of gas. And this bad boy is a gas guzzler. But look at all these airports on the way. So now you see it's totally realistic to buy an airplane instead of a new car. If you're interested in buying your own travel machine and getting your private pilot's license, drop me a line right in the comment section below. Also, if you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, reach out to me, because I'm always looking for company, looking for people to fly with me. Most of the time I fly alone. Till the next time, make sure that you subscribe so you get notifications of our next video, like this video, and leave whatever comment you want in the comment section below. Thank you for joining me here at ENTP Life. See you soon.